Samsung has released its new and updated S23 lineup, and the S23 Ultra seems great, and here's why. Now at this point you know that this channel is where we appreciate older tech. However, I can always respect when companies try to outdo themselves and come out with even greater versions of their flagships, especially in areas such as battery performance, which gives us the ability to use our devices for years to come, which is exactly what Samsung has done with its latest release. From the outside, you might think it's nothing more than a small update, since the design is almost identical to the last generation's S22 Ultra. But under the hood, there are substantial improvements that made me really excited about this device. Now the body looks and feels like the previous S22 Ultra, yes, but there are slight tweaks here as well. The phone is a little heavier this time around, but more noticeably, the chassis is less rounded. Dare I say it's a bit boxier, but it does make it easier to hold this 6.8-inch phablet. Now colors are a bit of a letdown for me personally, as they are all muted versions of the last generations. However, Samsung's website does feature some exclusive color finishes. I'm eyeing the red one because it really pops. What do you think? Now the camera. This is probably the most talked about feature this year because everyone is talking about a ridiculous 200 megapixel main sensor with 1.7 aperture, equipped with even improved HDR and optical image stabilization that rivals some professional gimbals. The video comparison between the S22 Ultra and the S23 Ultra provided by Samsung really showcases the superiority of this year's camera setup. Talking about the 200 megapixel main camera, you already know that more pixels doesn't automatically mean better photos. In fact, the selfie camera has been demoted from 40 down to 12 megapixels, yet it captures selfies filled with details, and Samsung seems to have fixed the overprocessed, airbrushed look this time as well. Back to the main sensor. So the way that the 200 megapixel camera works is that in reality it produces 12.5 megapixel images due to the binning of 16 pixels into one. In this way, it produces less grainy and more detailed photos than ever. This also means vastly improved night photography and video as well. All in all, the S23 Ultra should be a big step forth in terms of handling light and shadow and camera overall compared to its predecessor. Now before I forget, let's also mention the 100 times zoom. Thanks to AI processing, the 100 times zoom now looks much sharper, and this is perhaps the first time you can see this as a substantial feature and not a gimmick, and all thanks to the improved chipset processing. Now portrait video, or what Apple calls cinematic mode, has also been improved on the new S23 Ultra. One complaint a lot of people seem to be having is that the camera on the S23 Ultra is suffering from shutter lag present when taking more photos quickly one after the other. I do hope, however, that this can be solved with a future software update. When it comes to the performance, there's some good news. You know how previously Samsung used to have two different chipsets for American and non-American markets? Usually the former would receive a more powerful Snapdragon processor, whilst the international market was left with less powerful and less power efficient Exynos processor. Well, that is no more. This year, Samsung decided to put the same chip across its devices, the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2, which is supposed to be 30% more powerful both in GPU and CPU terms than last year's Exynos. And now let's talk about the batteries. Again, from the surface, it doesn't seem as if there's a lot of improvement here. The S23 has the identical battery to its predecessor, the 5000 mAh battery with 45-watt fast charging, but not so quick. Remember the new Snapdragon chip? Well, because of its power efficiency, this year you can expect the S23 Ultra to perform 60% better than the S22 Ultra, which is so crazy. Even crazier, at least for Samsung phones, the S23 Ultra now rivals the battery life of the iPhone 14 Pro Max, at least according to some early battery tests on Twitter and here on YouTube. Either way, based on Samsung's claims, this year you could expect at least 2 more hours of on-screen time. To conclude, the main question is, if you're looking to buy this beast, is it worth it? Well, it's difficult for me to talk prices considering that they are vastly different across the world, so I'd like to actually ask you, how much does the S23 Ultra cost where you're from? But here's what I can say. If you have the S22 Ultra, then you should really stick to it this round. Yes, the battery and performance have been improved, but it's not like the S22 Ultra is bad by any means to force you to update. If you're someone, however, thinking of buying your first Samsung device, or someone with a really old device, and if you also want a brand new refresh and have some extra cash, then why not? You'd receive all the perks of using an Android, but not only that, considering that Samsung's One UI is a feature-packed skin, which can even transform your phone into a desktop-like experience wirelessly. Besides that, no one does multitasking as well as Android phones do, so if you're into that and you want to utilize the giant screen of your phone, then you already know what to do. Personally, what I admire about this release is that Samsung has proven once again that they are committed to improving not only their hardware, but also software optimization as well. The extra battery life will encourage users to keep on enjoying their devices for years to come, and coupled with at least 4 generations worth of updates from Samsung, I can only say bravo. Well, that's all from me this time. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel. I'm really close to hitting that 500 subscribers mark, and I'd really greatly appreciate your help to get me there. Thank you for watching, grazie mille, and I'll see you in the next one. Arrivederci. These are all of the phrases that I've heard in The White Lotus. Has anyone else seen The White Lotus? Grazie mille. Arrivederci. Buonanotte.